It looks like there might be a little bit of a snag as far as the website and or links that were sent out to the Zoom link. While we have 560 folks on here and it is 6:01, I think we may need to take a look at updating a couple of links on our website. So let's give that maybe just a couple of moments and then we can get started. All right, I'm just going to give a little bit of an overview before we begin this evening, just to give our attendees a few more moments to find the links. Looks like there was a little bit of hiccup that people are working their way through. My name is Susan Bernard, and I'm the IT director with the school district. And I just want to give you an orientation to the tool that we're using this evening. If you've been with us before, it's the same tool. If you're new to us this evening, thank you for joining us. We have a Q&A section, so you can see the little bubbles down at the bottom on your toolbar in Zoom. That is a place where you can ask questions. We politely ask you to hold on your questions until we get through, especially the frequently asked questions part of our presentation this evening, and hopefully those will answer many of the questions for you. But feel free to put your question in there so we know if we haven't answered it. The chat section with the single text bubble is if you're having any trouble or questions or issues, like some folks have been noting on the chat that the webinar link was off on one of the links. So that's exactly what chat's for if you're having trouble with sound or anything else. And then there's also an interpretation globe down on the bottom on the toolbar. So if you'd like to listen to this presentation in Spanish, you're going to click on the globe down by interpretation. You can click on Spanish and you will hear the audio translated in Spanish for you. You can mute the original if you want, but it reduces the volume so you can hear the Spanish right away. I think I'll give it just a moment and look for a clue that we are ready to get started and make sure we're getting as many people in as possible before we begin. So it's 6:05, still trying to track down that bad link, but luckily we are recording this and it'll be available live stream on YouTube in case folks want to get it there, or they can catch it later and watch it after we are finished. Again, my name is Susan Bernard and I'm the IT director with Tigard-Tualatin School District. Just want to give you a quick overview to the tool that we're using this evening. It's Zoom Webinar. And there's a couple of tools down the taskbar on the bottom I just want to bring your attention to. There's a Q&A button later in the presentation after we get a chance to talk with you about our frequently asked questions and the plan and information we're planning to share with you this evening. We encourage you to put your Q&A, your questions in there. Typically what we've been doing, because we've been receiving so many, we're taking those and putting the answers to those on our frequently asked questions website, which we'll be reviewing today in the presentation. Additionally, there's a chat icon down at the bottom. If you're having any technical issues or questions with what you're seeing or volume or sound, please go ahead and text in there. And if you would like to hear this presentation in Spanish, there is a globe icon down the bottom that says interpretation. Just click once on that, click on Spanish, and you will hear the presentation translated live in Spanish. And at this point, I'd like to welcome Dr. Ricky Smith and Dr. McCall to begin the presentation.
Thank you. Could we move? Thank you to that slide. So again, it's a profound pleasure to be with all of you. My name is Dr. Sue. I'm the superintendent of Tigard-Tualatin. And this evening, and Dr. Lisa McCall, our assistant superintendent, will be joining me along with staff to share updated information regarding our Ready Schools Safe Learners Plan. Next slide, please.
So there's 3 big topics we want to achieve tonight, and here they are. First, we want to know share with you how your feedback has informed shifts to our plan. Second, we would like to provide clear information to inform your choice between hybrid and 100% online, and the deadline for that is August 12th. And then third, we would like to provide additional clarity of what the 2020-21 school year will look like, and also give you future dates for additional meetings. Next slide.
So one of the things that Tigard-Tualatin values more than anything else is the community process, which frankly can be messy at times and confusing. We heard clearly before we began this series of meetings a strong community desire to be able to provide input. And so we continue to value that feedback. The feedback is important to us to make sure that this plan not only reflects the guidance from Oregon Department of Education and from the Oregon Health Authority, but even more importantly, that it reflects the needs of our community and the multiplicity of learners that we have. Next slide, please. So here's what you've told us as we take a look overarching the entire FAQ document. The things that were consistent, both in your questions and answers from the last 2 meetings, as well as the emails that we have been pleased to receive from you, myself, and board and staff. And here's what you've told us. First and foremost, I do not want my child to be isolated from their neighborhood school and friends. I want the option for my child to continue to learn remotely if I'm not comfortable with sending them to school. I'm worried that my child won't have live instruction with a teacher. And please don't make me commit for 1 year. Next slide, please.
So on this slide, as we go through the hybrid versus the 100%, you can see here's a link to this document. We can also put that in the chat for you. Give you a moment to find it. Again, here's the link, and then we'll put that into the chat. And then next, give a minute before we do that. Thank you. Next slide.
So we would encourage you to follow along as Dr. Lisa and I walk you through this table. Dr. Lisa.
Okay. So Dr. Sue, if I'm a parent or a family or a community member, what is TTSD's commitment to these 2 options?
So again, getting back to the feedback that we received from you, we have adjusted that commitment to the course of 18 weeks or 1 semester. Regardless of whether you choose the hybrid online remote model or whether you choose the complete 100% at-home learning, online learning for the semester.
So as a parent, I'd like to know, where is my child going to learn?
During the first 9 weeks, everyone will be learning at home online. And we'll be talking about that in a moment around the metrics that we received from Oregon Health Authority that guide that decision. So if you are hybrid, you will start in the hybrid online portion of that option. If you are 100% online at home, students will be learning all year, but you will also obviously be online starting both models starting September 14th, which is the first day of school.
Okay, because relationships and connections are so important, who is teaching my child during these models?
In the hybrid model, because students will hopefully eventually be able to come into the classroom, it will be their school, neighborhood school teachers. In option 2, 100% online, we will work with intention to connect you with a teacher from your neighborhood school, but it may necessitate the need of teachers in that grade level to teach your child from across the district. But they will all be TTSD teachers.
Okay.
Now, what I want to share with all of you this evening in preparation for the next question that Dr. Lisa is going to ask is that ODE has provided guidance as to the minimum number of instructional minutes that students should receive at each grade band, as well as the minimum number of instruction they should receive for the week. For us here in TTSD, we know that our teachers value as much time as possible with their students, and our students value as much time as they can possibly have with their teachers. And we wish to thank our Teachers Association, the Tigard-Tualatin Education Association, for working collaboratively with us to exceed these minimums and yet provide the flexibility that both families, students, and staff need so that we can be successful with both models. Next slide, please.
Okay, so again, questions from folks is how much opportunity will there be to learn will my child have?
So again, in these conversations, we are working towards the goal of approximately 6 hours per day, which will be a combination of teacher-directed time and small group applied learning, as well as individual work that needs to be done on a daily basis. But it will not all be screen time. And that's true regardless of whether you choose the hybrid model or whether you choose the online model.
We've also been hearing from families, the question is, who will be in my child's classroom?
If you opt for the hybrid on-site or remote model, it will be with the neighborhood school peers that go to that in that attendance area. If you are 100% online, it may well be a group of online peers at that grade band level from across the district.
Okay, so what school will my child enroll in?
You will continue to enroll in your neighborhood school.
What about my kindergartner who is ready to learn?
I believe that Director Susan Bernard has some information for us about registration for kinders.
Yeah, as we will discuss a little bit later in the presentation, we have opened up Parent View so that our families can log in for the next 10 days or so and make their selection for hybrid or 100% online. During this time, we have closed down new registrations. So new registrations for kindergartners and any other age will open again on August 13th. Thank you.
Okay. So then the other question is, who will be my child's guidance counselor?
Whether you opt for the hybrid at home online remote model, or whether you opt for the 100% online, you will have access to your neighborhood school's counselor.
So this is a question that I'm hearing a lot. What platform will teachers, students, and parents use?
We know that last year, the multiplicity of platforms made it challenging for our families. And so we are going to one platform known as Canvas. This is a one-stop shop where students and families can access both the content, meaning the instruction, as well as student assignments. It is replacing at elementary Seesaw and at middle and secondary Google Classroom.
So as you know, families and staff have shared with us their experience in phase 3 and the need for consistency. So how will TTSD ensure consistency of instruction across schools and teachers?
For those of you who were able to join us at last week's meeting, we presented a number of slides of teachers and administrators who have been working to vet a number of online curriculum supports for staff that can be added to existing TTSD adopted curriculum to ensure that there's consistency between classrooms and schools. Following the vetting of a number of online curriculum providers, the committee recommendation that will go forward to the TTSD School Board next Monday on August 10th will be Florida Virtual School.
Okay. Will my child have access to IB and or two-way immersion programs?
Yes, both options will be offered in each model.
I've heard this question come up a lot from our not only families but also staff. What electives will be offered?
Most school electives in the hybrid at-home online model will be available, as they will also be available to the 100% online students. Students will also have access to performing art classes at neighborhood schools virtually.
Okay. Will students receive final grades?
Yes, we are returning to the traditional way in which we typically grade, which means standards-based for kinder through 5th grade, A through F letter grading, grades 6 through 12, with a TTSD final report card and regular reporting periods, as if we were in brick and mortar.
And will attendance be taken?
Yes, daily attendance is required and will be taken.
Okay. So will my child have a set schedule, whether they're at home or in person?
Yes, we are working on daily schedules to be offered at the hybrid and the online for Monday through Friday, and there will be more information to come.
Yeah. You know, we've heard that during this time of COVID-19 that it's important that parents know, what if my child cannot attend during a typical school hours?
We are working on doing recordings of live instructional sessions so that they will be available to families who, with the hours that are established for class instruction don't work for them. Online, the Florida Virtual TTSD curriculum will also allow for continuous access at any time. So if the schedule does not work for a student, whether they're online or hybrid online, they will have access to that at a time that works best for their families and best in their schedules.
Will extracurricular activities be available for my child?
Yes, virtually through the TTSD neighborhood school. Clubs and affinity groups and other activities will be available virtually. Athletics, currently we are waiting for further guidance from the OSAA relative to fall sports, and we understand that that decision may be made as late as the end of September.
How can I, as a parent or family member, contact my teacher?
So there are multiple ways in which you can get a hold of your teacher throughout the day and the week, during the class, video meetings, office hours, email, by calling your teacher, through Remind. And Remind is a multilingual, two-way communication tool that teachers and students and families can use. And they have multiple ways in which Remind works, either through email, phone, text, or app. It's based on your preference.
My child has been identified as talented and gifted. How will TAG services be provided?
Those services will continue to be provided by our TAG coordinators, who will continue their work in terms of identification, eligibility, and assessments. In addition, TAG coordinators will also provide supplemental lessons and continue to work closely with classroom teachers to ensure that the students' rate and level of learning is addressed using both TTSD curriculum as well as the Florida online virtual curriculum.
How will English language development services be provided?
Classroom teachers will continue to provide language support for our emerging bilingual students using the current curriculum. Additionally, English language development teachers will connect directly in classes to provide additional language support for classroom content as the student is learning.
Okay. And how will special education services be provided for my child?
Both in the hybrid as well as the online, learning specialists will work directly with families and students to implement the IEP plans that meet the unique needs of these students. Most of our specialized services, including speech, occupational therapy, and physical therapy, will be provided using Google Meet.
Good evening. I'm Carol Kinch. I'm the Director of Student Services. And with Todd Robson, the Director of Teaching and Learning, we share responsibility for the next slide. For many of our specialized programs, including our English language development program, talented and gifted special education and title programs. I know that Dr. Ricky Smith and Dr. McCall already talked a little bit about those programs, but we just wanted to emphasize that while we know that school will look different this year, we know that the students' needs are the same. So we know our ELL students still needs really high quality English instruction. We know our talented and gifted students need their instruction to be adapted to meet their rate and level. We know our special education students need specialized instruction that meet their unique needs. And we know K-12, particularly our elementary, but K-12, that we are committed to teaching kids who need reading, who are struggling to reading instruction. We also know that for many of our students in these populations, we need to ensure that they make progress in general education. So we have work groups working on these specialized programs as throughout the summer. We also have representation from our specialists in these groups that are on our reopening schools task forces. And then we also wanted you to know that we've started our special education affinity group series, but we will also be offering opportunities for families that have students who are in ELL or students who are in TAG or students who need any kind of specialized instruction, that we will provide more opportunities for some small group community meetings for specific information. Next slide.
Thank you, Carol. So if you are considering hybrid, and what that again means is that you want your child to experience learning in the classroom when it is considered safe to do so. Based on ODE and OHA guidelines, we need to know who will be on site, who wants to be on site at some point, so that we can form the cohorts, small groupings of students. And we'll talk a little bit about that later in a couple of upcoming slides. But we need to know who is asking for that, that type of instruction so that we can plan the cohorts of the groupings appropriately. Next slide, please. I want to take just a brief moment to share with you how we make the decision relative to students and families who are asking for a hybrid experience to determine when it is safe to return to the classroom. As you can see, based on the color, red being, as we all know, stop, and green being full go. Right now, we are fully remote, and you see the little arrow there that says we are here for school reentry for the next 9 weeks. The description means in phase 1 that all students are learning at home. This means that the case rate and the test positivity rate in our county, Washington County, as well as Clackamas County, where we have a school, Bridgeport, as well as Multnomah County, where 25% or more of our staff reside, we have to take a look at the metrics for all three of those counties to determine whether we are in a position to offer on-site instruction in our buildings. Right now, we are fully remote because we've met these metrics, meaning we have greater than 30 positive cases per 100,000 for 7 days. We have greater than 5% positive test positivity in our county and in the state. That's a fully remote. As a point of clarity, this last week, Clackamas's case rate was 31.6 per 100,000 and test positivity of 4.3. Multnomah's case rate was 63.0 positive cases per 100,000 and a test positivity rate of 5.3. And Washington County's case rate was 55.3 per 100,000 and a test positivity rate of 5.7. The state of Oregon has yet to meet its test positivity state rate of 5% or less. For us to be able to move into limited student group instruction, the case rate per 100,000 would need to be 30 cases or less per 100,000, a test positivity rate, both county and statewide, of 5% or less. To move into stage 3, which would be K-12 hybrid learning, the case rate must be 10 cases or less per 100,000, and a test positivity rate at the county and state level of 5% or less. And the day that we are all hoping for is at the bottom of the screen, which is we are now fully open. All students full-time can be back in classroom, and because the state has removed social distancing guidelines and other metrics because COVID has been brought to bay. Next slide, please. We also received questions regarding, well, what does a hybrid classroom look like? And so here you see several examples of how classrooms are set up. And this has been done by our director, Darren Bernard, who is our director of bonds and facilities, and his staff, trying to measure out 35 square feet of personal space per individual in a given classroom space. We know basically that based on classroom size, we can host between 15 to 17 students plus a teacher, spaced as you see here. This is the reason why when we have the opportunity to be on site for in-person instruction, we will host your child, if you've opted for the hybrid, based on your alpha. As we explained in the last 2 meetings, those groupings of students can be adjusted if you have members in your family who are not all of the same last name and don't fall into the same alpha. We will work with you to make those adjustments. And at the middle and secondary levels, we will have minimal cohort interaction. The reason for this is that we want to minimize potential exposure, but at the same time honor the need for access to teachers who are teaching different content. Next slide, please. And here is just a brief description of the key practices for reducing spread when we are able to be on site. And the items on what would be the left side of the screen, I know that you are most familiar with in terms of physical distancing, the need for hand hygiene, for making certain that we have students in small groups that have minimal mixing of the groups over the instructional day, that everyone, including children ages 5 and up, use face shields or face coverings and barriers, and that the purpose of our Wednesdays for deep cleaning is that is important, as well as the fact that high touch surfaces daily will be cleaned. On the right-hand side, you see some of the other considerations that we have touched on, but I want to repeat. The reason for these small groupings of students is so that in the event that a student comes down with COVID during the instructional day, we are able to quickly isolate that student and then potentially quarantine that classroom and teacher without infecting the entire school. In addition, the small groups of students and staff with these students aids us in identifying patients and persons who may have come in contact with someone who has tested positive. We've also touched on the airflow and ventilation work that facilities is doing to ensure that our outdoor activities are as safe as our indoor activities are as safe as our out, and in maximizing airflow in enclosed spaces. And that we are establishing in our blueprint, which will be filed with the public health counties of Multnomah, Clackamas, and Washington, that demonstrates we are following clear protocols for sharing information and getting to contract tracing as soon as we possibly can. Next slide, please. So to summarize, lots of information tonight. Students, whether they are in hybrid or 100% online, will have similar learning experiences. Instruction will take place for both options with teachers directly on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. And on Wednesdays, we are in conversation with our associations to support our student learning while teachers are receiving the support that they need in terms of professional development, looking at student engagement data, looking at student academic data, and adjusting their lesson plans to ensure that we are addressing the needs of students and minimizing educational opportunity gaps to the best of our ability as we are navigating what is truly historic and challenging circumstances. Next slide, please. I believe, Director Bernard, this is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Riki Smith. Again, my name is Susan Bernard. I'm the IT director with the school district. Hopefully you have already logged into your Parent View account or set up your new account and received an activation email. We opened up Parent View for online selection of hybrid or 100% online for your instructional model late yesterday. Hoping you'll spend the next couple of days to listen to the presentations and take a look at the frequently asked questions that we have online. But you have until next Wednesday, so a week from tomorrow, at midnight, to log into Parent View with your parent account and select the option for each of your children. So if you have 2 children, you're going to choose hybrid or 100% online for each one of them. The website down below, parenthelp.ttsdschools.org, is a parent help website. And the first help article on that website is a bit of a picture menu and instructions on how to use the online selection of hybrid or 100% online. Translation will be available in Spanish by the end of the day tomorrow. And we will continue to provide resources on this website. From this point forward, we had it available in the spring as well, and we will continue to build resources there for families to tackle problems at home with their technology or the Canvas platform or anything else that might come up. Next, please.
Here are some future dates in August, and this is what's coming up next. So in August, we will have meetings by levels: elementary, middle, high school, virtual meetings for the week of August the 10th. And those meetings will be hosted by principals who have been a part of the planning teams with teachers and other staff. More information to come, but again, week of August the 10th. And then the week of August the 24th, there will be school community meetings from your neighborhood school. Again, we know that families, you have a close relationship with your principals and administrators. And so this will be an opportunity to have a smaller group meeting that is led by your school administration staff. And then online orientation to the new online platform and tech training for families during the week of August the 24th. And then also more information about affinity groups. I'd like to invite Director An. Tell us a little bit about that.
Thank you, Dr. McCall. Yes, the affinity group meetings, just a quick clarification. The first meetings for each of our affinity groups will be more of an update on where we're at with the content and the materials that we are hearing today. The rest of the time, it's not going to be just for the first, before school starts. We're actually going to have it be an ongoing process. We're connecting with our affinity groups across our teachers as well as our students to bring our community in together. What we've learned from spring is that students and families are impacted very differently given their lived experiences. So we really want to make sure that we have and hold space for families and students to share specifically what is going on for them. And as Dr. McCall said, a lot of these more individualized questions are going to be answered either at the local areas or in the affinity group space or in those other smaller, more intimate spaces.
Next slide. So here's what's coming up in September. Again, a continuation of online orientation to the new online platform and technology training for families. That will continue. And then school will start September 14th, which will be online, of course. And then I know a lot of our families are gonna want to know about, will I have an opportunity to meet my child's teacher? And their answer is yes, it might be online, but you'll get more information during those community and school community meetings, the levels in school community meetings. Next slide.
At this point, we'd like to make sure that you know where our frequently asked questions are on our website. So at this point, this takes you to the regular Tigard-Tualatin School District website, which is just ttsdschools.org. There are a couple of icons up at the top that are links, and the link on the right that says 2021 Ready Schools Safe Learning, if you click on that, thank you. That takes you to the Safe Learning area of the Returning to School website. Right at the top at this point is the frequently asked questions. If you click on that, thank you. It'll take you to our frequently asked questions section. There are a variety of different categories that are here. If you could click on the hybrid versus 100% model, online model information, that is where you can find the table that we walked through today. In addition, back on the website for reopening, if you would. Yep, there are categories: general information, health and safety instruction. If you click on the titles, it expands the questions down below. If we go down to health and safety, I think that'll be a good one to start with. You'll notice the questions are in bold. For example, will staff be required to wear a mask? The answers are below in bold in regular font. Staff and students grades K through 12 will be required to wear masks per the governor's directive. And we have a variety of different questions under that particular content area. Similarly, we have a content area for instruction, which is down a little bit. There you go. We've added to that recently, and we'll continue to add your questions there. Thank you for the questions that you've been submitting from the first week that we did this a couple weeks ago. We literally have received thousands and are going through and trying to find common themes so that we don't necessarily answer each and every question, but the spirit of that question is at least phrased in a way that it's applicable to those who submitted it and then other people. Technology is the last section at this point. For example, do you have hotspots you'll be sending home with students? And we provide hotspots to families who are identified as needing Wi-Fi. I imagine these categories will continue to grow as we continue to fill our question and answers there. So I just want to make sure you knew how to get to that website where we'll continuing to put additional information. Thank you very much. And now I turn it back over to Dr. Sue.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bernard. Again, I wanted to offer one point of clarification. I see that we've had multiple questions relative to our desire to get to 6 hours of activity for your child. This will not be 6 hours on the computer. This will be a mix of activities for your child. But again, we strive to provide meaningful learning experiences every day for your child that is beyond the minimums that ODE requires. Because that is the commitment that we make in TTSD, is to give the best possible instructional experience within the confines of online instruction, as well as hopefully potentially some in-class instruction. So again, there will be more information that will help you walk through that day when you are both at the levels meetings, if you're able to make those, as well as with your homeschool. So with that, I want to end this evening by saying thank you to those of you who have continued with us over the last 3 meetings, this journey. Again, I call into the room the fact that it is challenging work. It has been messy work at times, and probably continues to be a bit confusing. But I am grateful to each and every one of you who have stayed in the conversation, provided the questions, provided your feedback. We will continue to work and refine. And it doesn't stop when September 14th comes. That is what we do as educators. We continually monitor and adjust, and we depend upon you as parents and community members to help us see where the needs are. And so grateful for everyone who has joined us over the last 3 weeks. I also want to give gratitude to our interpreters this evening, to the staff that have spent hours not only putting these plans together and working with all intent over the last several weeks of July, now into August, putting the slide deck together and continuing to populate and update the FAQ. My thanks to the staff, my thanks to our board, and to all of you in community. This is how we do public education. Together, collaboratively, in community, supporting each other. And eventually, there will be better days ahead, and we will look forward to greeting you all in our buildings. But for right now, we ask for your help in helping us see how you wish your child to learn. And we stand ready to support you as you do. So with that, I wish to say thank you to all of you. Wish you a good evening. It's going to still be another beautiful night. Hopefully you'll have a chance to enjoy that a bit. And we will look forward to seeing you starting next week in the individual levels meetings. Have a wonderful evening.